My Lords, I must say I am delighted to see that the bill has received such a positive reception from all those around the House, including some what I thought were very encouraging words from the Minister in her speech. But first of all, I want to thank all noble Lords who took part in the debate today, which I thought had many inspirational words and many entertaining speeches as well. And in particular, I want to thank the two noble Lords, Lord Grade and delighted she brought in the Welsh dimension. I was born in Neath myself, the home of several bards, and also hosted the Eisteddfod on many occasions, my Lord, so a connection there which I value very greatly. My Lords, it has been a very good debate. We started off, and several noble Lords referred to this, the difference between recorded music and live music. Of course, the iPod is an incredibly useful thing to have, and it's a wonderful thing to have a collection of music that one can access so easily, and I'll compare tracks with noble Lord Teverson any day of the week. But my Lords, live music is what we were talking about today, and that is absolutely crucial. Without that start in life, without those young performers getting a chance in small venues, we will not see the big bands, those who are able to sell their records and have downloads on iPods. My Lords, we heard all about the history, the very, very long history of attempts to deregulate the licensing of live music, and I feel sometimes that the noble Lord Colwyn and the noble Lord Breesdale are the sort of two musketeers who've been working at this, I mean, certainly since 1988, which I must say I haven't quite appreciated before, and certainly the interesting saga of how the Morris dancing exemption came about. The noble Baroness Bakewell made an absolutely vital point that music is central to our lives, and we do have a duty to the music makers of this country, and she reminded us particularly of the Liverpool, what she called a tidal wave of music inspiration, and the value of small venues in that context. The noble Baroness Benjamin, my noble friend Baroness Benjamin, talked about how she grew up playing live music and how participation in live music is so important, and that's where small venues also have an incredibly important part to play. Noble Baroness Randerson talked about the frustrations caused by the Licensing Act when it came to trying to encourage live music initiatives, and how they were curtailed by the requirements of the Act, even in terms of the live small venues, in terms of preparations for the Eisteddfod. And the noble Lord Breesdale, who has engaged in similar initiatives across the country, talked about the similar sorts of frustrations when trying to encourage live music in pubs. And the noble Lord Teverson, my noble friend Lord Teverson, talked about the Irish experience, and doesn't it appear extraordinary that they have such a different regime from our regime in this country? And it reminded me of that great movie, The Commitments, which was just one of the best movies of all time, showing how a small Irish blues band made it by starting off in the pubs and clubs around Dublin. So that was fantastic. My Lords, I also want to address what I thought was a wonderful confection by the noble Lord Stevenson, the Groundhog Day fantasy, perhaps I should put it on that. I very much hope that we're not in Groundhog Day. I took considerable comfort from what the Minister had to say, but I did take very strong comfort also from what the noble Lord Stevenson had to say about the positive economic benefits of live music. And I sort of thought that perhaps I should quote not Harry Worth but another comedian, the sort of metamorphosis of moving from government to opposition before your very eyes, as many people will pick up the reference to another comedian. My Lords, just addressing the point about residents, which of course the noble Lord Stevenson picked up, and is something that the Local Government Association and others have commented on, and the the reason why sometimes these proposals have got rather stuck in the pipeline. I don't believe that this bill will adversely affect local residents. The Live Music Bill explicitly safeguards residents from public nuisance caused by noise from live music by allowing licence conditions to be imposed as part of the process of the Environmental Protection Act 1990. And my lords, if these exceptions under this bill aren't granted, we may well actually go backwards. The coalition government's Police Reform and Social Responsibility Bill proposes changes to the Licensing Act 2003 which are aimed at dealing at alcohol-related crime. And two proposals in particular may have the unintended consequence of stifling live music. The vicinity test for making representations is proposed to be removed so that now any party can object to a live music event even if they're located in the licensing authority area. And the word necessary will be replaced under the same proposals with the word appropriate in the powers given to councils when imposing licensing commissions. Now, my lords, the DCMS Select Committee in 2009 rightly expressed concerns about the automatic association between live music and public disorder. And so we are very much in the territory, again, if we're not careful, in the area of unintended consequences of combining the two forms of licensing, alcohol and music, my lords, which will not produce an effect which will advance the cause of live music. My lords, I listened very carefully to what the Minister had to say about the three particular areas which any assessment would look at. The impact assessment would look at examining the technical aspects so that there were no unintended consequences from this bill, the question of time limits, my lords, and the effect on conditions imposed by licensing authorities. And my lords, I've always said, both on the previous bill and this version of the bill, that I'm more than happy to talk to government about amendments if they are necessary and proportionate, and believe that this will be a way of making sure that all are comfortable with new forms of licensing. My lords, we've been very inspired, I think, during the course of this debate by the description of the key role played by live music in all our lives and how we want it to make an even bigger impact on our lives. The Live Music Bill aims to rebalance the Licensing Act and restore some fairness to the treatment of live music and musicians by the licensing authorities. I hope noble lords will support it as it goes through the House, and I request that it be given a second reading.
The question is that this bill be now read a second time. As many as are of that opinion will say content. Yes. The contrary not content, the contents have it.
I beg to move that the bill be moved to a committee of.
That this bill be committed to a committee of the whole House. As many as are of that opinion will say content. Yes. To the contrary not content, the contents have it.